here is going to be your ultimate destination for all things. I mean, we've got a great guest, long time waiting for him to come on. We've been pushing to get him on our podcast for a long time, and things finally synced up for us. So we're going to talk all things jet ski adventures, water sports, and more. So we're going to delve into the world of your adrenaline pumping jet ski rentals and water sports right from the sunny shores of Florida. So join us today, our adventure friend. We've got friends together through communities of Apex. We both are in the same business as well at jet ski rentals and tours. So whether you're a seasoned jet ski enthusiast or someone looking to dip your toes into the world of adventures, you're in for a treat. We got Kevin O'Neill, and he's been running a Florida Destiny Waters Adventures down for a very long time, and he's going to give us a lot of insights on the safety aspects of how to take care of your jet ski, the proper ways to ride, dock, and everything else involved with the safety of water sports. So welcome, Kevin. Thanks so much for being on our show.
Good afternoon.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you for having me. I don't know. I don't think I'm gonna be able to live up to that intro, man, but I'm gonna try my best.
It sounded like that's half the show anyway, right there.
Yeah.
See,
man.
you got so much going for you. I mean, every guest we have that, either have books or, something going on, it's like, okay, the intro is going to last longer than the show itself.
Yeah, I get it, man. I've done the same thing, man. I'm always like, man, I love this guy. He's going to be great. And the guy's like, I don't think I can live up to that. I don't think I'm that great. And shoes on the other foot.
Yeah. But Kevin, so tell us a little bit about your, what part of Florida, Destin, right? Or
yeah, so I'm in North Florida. We're just on my business is actually located in Fort Walton Beach, it gets lumped into Destin because we're on there's Okaloosa Island. It's kind of like a whole, you basically, when you get up here, if you go to Panama City, Destin, Pensacola Beach, Fort Walton Beach, it's like the same thing, you know what I mean? So Destin's fine. We did a little play, Destiny Water Adventures. I put like a little Y, so everybody just knows Destin. And I didn't want to brand myself with a geolocation, so my wife actually was like, I like Destiny better. And so with
Destiny,
man. Yeah. We got jet skis, boat rentals, kayaks, paddleboard. We do sunset, dolphin tours and that stuff. And I have being that this is about safety, of an even heavier regulated industry that I was in before I did this was parasailing. And I was a parasail captain in Key West for 10 years before I started Destiny Water Adventures. So if it is water sports, as we call it in Florida, around the rest of the country, they might just call it like a jet ski rental or a boat rental, but it all gets lumped under. But if it's fun and it's entertaining and it happened on the water, I've done some part because I worked for a very large water sport company in South Florida, in Key West, that did they did everything that we did, plus parasailing, plus snorkeling. They had massive 100-person catamarans. And so I've had experience. If it happens on the water and it's a good time, man, I've been around it. I've run it. So
dude, I'm a big water baby myself, and not getting into zodiac signs and things like that, but I am a Cancer, and they claim that we, our astrology says that, we love the water and shit like that. So it's definitely true for me anyways.
I didn't start this life until I was almost 30. I couldn't even spell boat. I'd never even been on a boat. I didn't fish. I didn't do any of that. I lost my job in 2008 in Detroit, and that was it.
I see. I'm the same way. I'm a Chicago boy. So when it comes to water, it's like Lake Michigan. That's all I got.
Yeah. We had the Detroit River, but a buddy of mine after high school moved to Key West, and he went there when we were like 19. We went there on spring break, and he fell in love with it. He was a water guy. He stayed there, and then when the economy kind of went bad and I was in the trades, I'd lost my job, and he offered me a job mating on his parasail boat. And so I was like, well, I don't have anything else going, so I just I landed in it, and I ended up being really bad at it. really have another option. And so I kept on doing it. And like anything else, man, I just kept on coming in every single day, and they couldn't get rid of me. And the one portion of it I was good at was like the customer service side. And I've always been a people person, So, yeah, man, that was it. I after about a year of being a mate on the boat, I got my captain's license, and that was it, man. Stone cold driving parasail boats in Key West.
Wow. Is that when you started your own?
No.
When you got your no,
man. I drove parasail boats in Key West for 10 years before I came to North Florida, and that's where it's sort of like when you're the captain of a boat, you still have a boss, you still have someone to sign your paycheck, but at the end of the day, the captain makes the final call on anything safety related. When you have weather coming in, and I mean, man, I got they say it takes about 10,000 hours to master something, right? Malcolm Gladwell coined that. And I probably got, I have no idea how many hours I have behind the wheel of a parasail boat, man. I mean, much more than that, but this is where sort of the entrepreneurial spirit got born in me, because we were working 7 days a week, when the money was there, and you got out there and flew people, you had to make that call. If I was going to shut the day down due to weather concerns, high winds, lightning, stuff like that, Florida actually has a law on the books that for parasailing. So if you're out there in winds above 17 knots sustained, and something happens, you're going to be held criminally negligent. So it's the captain on the boat who has to make that call, and so it very much like becomes like your own business, because your neck is on the line. Right. And so I learned pretty fast out there. Man, safety was like, it was super important, because I didn't care how much money there was to be made, man. I wasn't going to prison, what I mean, for money. And sometimes it was a difficult call, because your ego's on the line. You're out there driving, the wind starts picking up, 17 knots sustained, like wind doesn't work like that. There is no such thing. It'll be sustained for a minute, but then it'll drop. Mm-hmm. If you go plug up somewhere behind an island, behind a building, and you hold up your wind reading instrument, you're going to get a different reading. If I go online and look at NOAA, but it's like ultimately still it doesn't matter, So, but you have to make those decisions. You have to keep everybody in one piece and safe, and at the same point in time, you have to protect your license and potentially your freedom. And so, when I was young, when I first got started out there, man, there was constant like a push and pull in me. I wanted to be the best. I wanted to fly, and like I wanted to go run away from the storms. Like storms would come in and we go shooting out. I'd shoot out to the Atlantic and try and dodge rain and lightning and everything else. And it was just like this. It was crazy, man. I've seen a lot of crazy stuff on that parasail boat, but it ultimately shaped how I would approach Destiny Water Adventures in the future, because I did have so much experience actually on the water. I wasn't just a guy who went and bought some boats or jet skis and dropped them in the water. I did have that over 10,000 hours of experience. I did see everything, at least at the time. I thought I saw everything, and then we came up here in the Gulf, and it's a much different weather patterns. So, I approached the boat rental and the jet ski side with the same as I would as a seasoned veteran captain, and it's it served me and my company well, and it served me when I was actually driving the boats, and I'm still a licensed captain today, and I hold that in a very high regard.
Yes. How long have you had Destiny Water Adventures now?
Destiny, I've owned Destiny for the last 6 years. I've been 6 years. Yep. We started with one boat and flyboarding, which is a whole, flyboarding is where you jetpack is the best way to explain it. If you've ever seen the jetpack, you fly around like Iron Man, but they attach it to your feet. Yeah. So we started with one boat that I was doing charters on and still using my license. We had the flyboard, and then we had 2 rental jet skis. And today we have we have a total of 31 boats for rent, and then I've got another 16 skis, and then we have a partnership in Galveston, Texas, Seabrook technically, where my partner Sean is over there, And then we actually do
Wow.
a Jeep. I have a Jeep rental business, and I just started a bounce house rental business as well. So
Hell yeah.
So these are all the high risk verticals, man.
Yeah. So you weren't lying about that entrepreneurial spirit where you just went
No,
from one to one to one.
I love it, man. I love everything about it.
What is your season down there?
I don't. So when we first got here, it was like March to end of September, but I'm like, the hell with that, man. I'm like, we go all year round. So
See, that's what I
obviously
would think. In Florida,
season.
you'd be all year round.
Well,
I guess.
Yeah, well, North
know.
Florida's a little different. It just, it does get a little cooler up here. But it's like one of those things in business where, especially with small businesses, right? You see like the dog chasing his own tail sort of thing. You see somebody doing something successfully, and then you just kind of like copy and emulate that.
Mm-hmm.
And then like it's just like the same thing. Like you look at water sports, right? So like from a jet ski to a 60 horse pontoon boat, like two vastly different businesses. You know what I mean? Like having a jet ski that's 90, 110, 120 horsepower, like death machine, versus and one person, and they're just like, tunnel vision. And then you have a 60 horsepower pontoon boat that's this like lumbering thing versus parasailing versus snorkeling, but it all gets lumped under this idea of being a water sport, And I always jokingly said I don't know anything that's more sporting than going on a 60 horsepower pontoon and getting shit faced. This is sporting as it gets, boys.
Well, they call it a drinking game, so you're on there doing drinking games.
Yeah. So I approach like the jet ski side of it, man. Like and when I got here, most of the businesses did approach it from an entrepreneurial standpoint. There's a lot of people or Florida natives or whatever, but unless they're like a parasail captain, I don't know any business owners that are in the rental side that have. And this is not my ego speaking, but I mean the pedigree, like the literal amount of hours that you have behind the wheel of a boat. And you talk to any captain, especially like on a sport fishing side or charter, they see recreational boaters as a menace. Well, when I was a parasail captain, I saw charter fisher guys as a menace. I was like, you don't know what you're doing, dude. Like, you know what I mean? And then you got working offshore guys that have gone to maritime academy that look at me and they're like, you don't know what you're doing, man. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's they're whole different subsets of the same vertical. But, when I started the business, I was much like a very nervous Nelly when it came to giving people equipment and putting them on the water and just making sure I had contact with them and that, like nobody had geofencing or nobody was using like products like Auto Track or Jet Ski Buddy or any of these things on their jet skis. I don't know a lot of companies that still do. And I personally love that stuff because then I can see what they're doing. It shuts the machine down. We have GPS trackers on all of our boats. We have such in our culture this idea of like, look, it's not just a $35,000 piece of equipment. Like these people trust you with their family, with their safety, with their life when they're going out on the water.
The kids.
Yeah, man, absolutely. And it's like, even though a pontoon, there was an article maybe a year or two ago, Greg and I did a show about it. We actually talked about it, but a woman went out there and she was like famous. And I can't remember the whole scope of it, but she was like, I want to say somewhere maybe in California. And they were out there in a pontoon boat and they got caught in a pop-up storm on a lake.
Ooh.
And, I can't remember what it was. Somebody drowned. I can't remember if it was the boyfriend or something like that. I don't think it was one of the children, but, and then like the company got pulled in and they were like, were they safe? Did you send these people out there? So I realized that like things can go sideways, like in a split second. If you don't make sure that you're like training that down the line from your staff to the customer. I mean, when I mentioned the guy, we all think we're all dummies down the line. Well, now imagine you have somebody that doesn't have a strong pedigree or strong water experience training a kid who's your dock hand, training a customer who knows even less. So that communication is it's paramount. And it's probably the most important thing that I've seen in this industry, of people that are doing it right, that are making sure that training's happening, and people are doing it wrong, that are just like in there to make a quick buck.
Yeah.
So about the training, go ahead, Dave.
No, I was just going to say that. I mean, that really parallels with, safety in anywhere, safety in construction. Communication is, absolute. You've got to be able to communicate with your employees, and especially when it comes to safety. You got to make sure that they understand. This is what OSHA, ANSI, and all this. What they say, and also communicate to where they understand. You can throw out OSHA regulations all day long to someone who doesn't know anything about it, and you'd lose them. And like you said, you have deckhands, and then you have just vacationers. You can say, well, here's the rules, but you've got to be able to communicate to where they understand not only why you have these rules, but to get it, they're there to have fun, but you want to drill that into them of just, yeah, this is fun, but it's also dangerous, and this is why we have this stuff.
Yeah, because if OSHA comes out, if you have an OSHA safety inspector come out to the job site, and you have an employee that's not doing the right thing, not wearing a hard hat, not meeting OSHA safety standards, or doing something, God forbid, actually in the work that they're doing that's not meeting OSHA safety standards, then it's like not just the employee that gets his neck wrong, it's the contractor, it's the builder, it's your license that's on the line. Exactly. So it's definitely, I mean, I've worked in a local 98 plumbers union for years before I drove a boat, man. So it's like, I get it, and it's like it does parallel across both industries for sure.
What would you say some of your, and I don't want to say it this way and make our customer base look bad, but what would you say the toughest customers are? Younger, older, middle-aged, or brand new, or experienced?
Man, it's like, that is a wildly difficult question. And I'll tell you, man, and it is, because you have to then stereotype people, right? Which can put you in an entirely different.
Exactly.
So for example, not our company, but another company, they didn't allow somebody to rent a jet ski because they didn't speak English, right? Now, this is difficult because I've had to cut tours short for the same reason, not me personally, but my staff. It's the same thing. Like, they're not listening regardless, one way or another, right? Yeah. It doesn't, if they don't speak English, if they're just not listening to you, if somebody is on a jet ski or behind the wheel of a boat, and you are like, I would train my parasail captains and mates that worked underneath me, because they'd suck in a winch, right? And you have a line coming in a winch drum that's down, it's a winch boat, right? And so when a customer would grab that line as it was coming in, because as they're coming in from the parasail, they're coming in to land on their feet and stand straight up, and they kind of like lose their balance a little bit, and they grab the line, and that line is going into a gooseneck with two roller heads on it, and suck their hand right in. I know a parasail captain lost top of his finger. So I would train my mates, I'd be like, don't even tell them. I'm like, you smack their hand. So ultimately, when something's going sideways, like, and I don't care what your feelings are about how I talked to you, what we said, you didn't understand, you don't speak English. My job is to keep you in one piece. And if that entails me cutting the trip short, the problem with that is so we have to do everything as an on-industry as a service provider to make sure that we have all of these bases covered. So we're close to Texas. So if we have a large Spanish-speaking population, and it's up to us to make sure that either we have safety videos that are in Spanish, like whatever it may be. If you have a large constituency of somebody that's coming in that there's any type of barrier, whether it be language, whether it be just understanding the general directions of what you're trying to tell them. Maybe that person's just terrible at learning on paper. Well, okay, awesome. Well, we have a video. Awesome. We have a one-on-one instructor. There's like everything, again, communications is key, but they communicated to that customer in a poor way why they were not allowing the trip to go out. And it was, again, it was trained down. You know what I mean? It was the staff maybe didn't properly understand the manager and whatever it may be. But it came back to the customer as like they were being racist. And they went on TikTok and they drugged the company. They called them racist and they said that, you know, all this stuff. So it's not any particular subset of customer. It's a customer that is unfamiliar with the equipment. Okay. And that equipment could just be a PFD1, a life jacket. I mean, I remember seeing like customers that would come down from the north. They never wore it, or they never wore a life jacket in their life, and they had the thing on backwards around. You know, they didn't know how they don't know how to swim. So it's basically any customer that there's a barrier to entry to the thing that they are trying to do, and it's up to us as professionals to remove that barrier to entry, to make sure that if we're going to let them on our jet ski, on our boat, on our snorkel trip, if they don't know the proper way to put on their life jacket, if they don't know how to swim, if they don't know the throttle on the jet ski, if they don't know how to stand straight up on the parasail boat without grabbing the line, it's always on us to make sure that they understand what they're supposed to be doing. And it's been my experience, what I've learned in 16 years in this game, is that it's like 99.9% on us to communicate to our employees, to communicate to the customer. There is no one person that's problematic. There's companies that have bad SOP, standard operating procedures, that are problematic.
Right. And I'm glad you hit on all those points.
I got all sorts of good stuff. Stupid shit, man. They're making me done stupid, man. I mean, like, you know, and to that point, I've done stupid shit. So.
They're going out there, and there's the question of alcohol involved. I mean, they could start out. Yeah, I understand. Everything you're telling me, and then 3 bottles of tequila later, they're like, yeah, fuck it.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah, I mean,
so do you get people coming back, renting from you sober, coming back drunk?
Oh,
how do you handle that, and what's your safety protocol for that?
Yeah, man. So, believe it or not, yeah, it is. That's one of the most difficult ones, man.
I'm gonna hear that.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So we actually do. We solve for it. So so with your captain's license, and I'm not going to get into the specifics of this, but they're in the state of Florida, and with the Coast Guard and the FWC, they sort of look at rentals in 2 different ways. The Coast Guard looks at it as what's called a bareboat charter, and then the state of Florida looks at it as a livery. And so there's some really cross-jurisdictional weird things that come down to chartering a boat versus a boat for charter for hire, captain's license, versus somebody that's like just, that you're paying to take you out, and they're a buddy of yours, and it's whatever. It's a long, convoluted thing. It's super annoying. There's laws on the books that like kind of contradict each other. But the long and short of it is that we have to be very careful about letting our people, even from an insurance standpoint, get behind the wheel of a boat once somebody else has taken command of that vessel, right? Whether it be a customer, whether it be a charter for hire, whether it be a licensed captain. So we reached out to our local Coast Guard, to our local FWC, to all of the different jurisdictional, the county sheriff, National Park Service. And we're like, hey, we're putting a service on our boat that if there's no sober person on that boat, that we will go out there, we will take an employee, they will come out, they will bring the boat back. They're not chartering the vessel. They're not charter for hire. They're not doing anything but taking back possession of the vessel and bringing it back to safe harbor. And we're going to charge for that because I just can't have people sitting on my books. Like, we're not trying to make money off this. We are simply covering our costs. And so now we have used, and through our checkout process, do you need a designated driver to bring you back? We're not going to take you out there. And if you show up drunk, you're not taking our boat. but if you accidentally have too much to drink, we will come get you. And then that's also a part of our speech is that if they don't check it out while pre, and they don't, we let them know when they're checking in, hey, we'll come out and get you if you have too much to drink, but it's $150. We text them at the end of the day. So we try and do everything we can. And then on big parties, like as a side note, there's been these things called takeover parties. And I'll tell you, initially, when you asked me, like, what was my worst customer type be? I was like, initially, like the Crab Island takeovers. You know, they'd have these planned parties, and they come and rent all the boats and come down. And again, it was sort of illegal, sort of illegal, because they were charging people to be on the boat. So it was like basically like a house party that somebody would rent, like a big Airbnb, and then have a big, massive party, and they destroyed our shit, you know, like that wreck, you know, taking jet skis, craziness. So the first time it happened, we got caught off guard. We weren't anticipating it. The next time we were, right? So we actually shut down as an industry. Everyone just shut their doors to their business. But that we couldn't go on like that, right? Because it was like the exact same thing. Like we can't, like, you can't just shut down because people want to have an unsanctioned party or bring people on their boats or whatever. So we had to solve for it. You know, we had to fix it. But if you go and Google or go onto Facebook and search Crab Island Brawl, it was one of these takeover parties. And man, these guys, there was like a 30-person brawl out there. And I mean, like, there were like one dude like hit a guy with, there's like 20 people on the bow of this boat. Another dude hit a guy with a bottle. And I'm watching this video and I'm like, oh my God, what are they doing? And then like somebody like splits the sea of people in the water and they're on my boat. I'm like, that's my boat. I was in Maine camping with my family and I saw it on social media. And I just like, I'm like, I'm not supposed to be on my phone anyway. I'm not watching this. I will call my manager on Sunday and figure out what the hell happened, you know? And I knew what happened and I don't mean to sound callous, but like, you know, like all of our equipment was good, you know? So at the end of the day, it's like, look, man, if you guys want to get out there and go crazy and you know what I mean, beat the hell out of each other or whatever it is you're going to do, like, you know, firstly, don't. Please do that. Like, just, you know, like,
yeah, that's number one. With
let's maybe refrain from doing that. You know, but if things get out of hand, if you've had too much to drink, like, call us. And guess what? We have people out there. So to combat that, not only did we have the SMS, the marketing, we'll come get you if you're drunk. We had people out there. Unfortunately, the scope of what happened, I mean, my God, there was nothing he could do. There was nothing that Okaloosa County Sheriff could do. Everyone just sat there. They were just like, wow. This is like a straight riot in the middle of the water. There's nothing that anybody can do because, I mean, literally, the cops just watched it happen because you're in, you know, there was so many people involved that there's just like, there's not enough, we don't have enough cops on the water, sheriff, Coast Guard, like, you know what I mean? We need a fucking SWAT team to be out there to handle that, you know?
It's like,
so it's just like,
all you had to,
I can see the Coast Guard going, just like, we ain't got enough people, it's not, you know?
Yeah. It's just, I mean,
all you had to do was tase. If you just tased one person in the water, it hit everybody, right?
you got a bunch of fish and sharks floating to the top.
Yeah. Electrocute everybody at Crab Island. But you know, this was like to that same point, right? So everyone's like, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? There's another takeover party. Do we shut down our businesses? Do we try and figure out if they're part of the party or not? Like, no, man, you can't like try and shut off your online bookings and only take phone calls and be like, oh, are you a part of this party? What are they going to say? They're going to say no, because you can't just arbitrarily pick and choose who you're going to do business with. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, you can tell people don't break the rules, but same thing on Airbnb. Are you going to tell somebody that they're not going to rent your house because by the looks of their Facebook profile, you think that they could fit the mold of someone that wants to have one of these parties? You know what I mean? Like, that is, you can't do it. So again, it comes down to us. It's like, all right, so what are we going to do? Well, we're going to make sure there's more bodies on the water. If we have to hire off-duty sheriff to be on our site when people get back to make sure that brawl doesn't happen on our property, that everybody knows very clearly, hey guys, if you're going out there to rage, keep in mind, you have Okaloosa County, you got you have Coast Guard, you have FWC. Just keep your shit together, man. And if you get drunk and you get too much, we'll come get you. But just keep this all in mind, because those guys that got into that fight, there was warrants out for their arrest. And then there was another takeover party a month later. Sheriffs and detectives called us and was like, hey, somebody got stabbed in that melee. So if these people show up, call us. You know what I mean? So ultimately, like, we as an industry, no matter what, when it comes to safety, when it comes to keeping your employees safe, when it comes to keeping your customers safe, like, this is a top-down issue always. You can't go like, oh man, it was like, this idiot on the roof, man, he fell off because he wasn't following like protocol. Well, who above him was like up there with him? Like, where was management? Where was your job foreman? Like, where was the ownership? Like, ultimately, if you don't own every last piece of your business, then that's safety, that's finances, that's marketing, that's customer service, that's the whole damn thing, because the buck stops at you. And ultimately, if something happens on your site, that's your fucking fault, man. And I'm
sure it's a network. It's your company, and there's other companies out there. I'm sure you could share information going, hey, this person charted our boat, and we had some issues with them. I just want to give you a heads up.
Charted? Yeah, I thought the same thing.
They just shit on the boat?
Yeah, that's what I thought too. Yeah, they shit on the boat. Well, you know what? If somebody shits on my boat, they're not going to rent it again anyway, because that's a lot of cleanup.
If their money's green, man, I'm good with it. I got simple green, man. That'll come off, man. We're starting economic downturn. You can shit on that motherfucker, but if you destroy it, just make sure you buy our insurance first.
Green money, green shit. I don't care.
You ain't lying.
5-leaf clovers.
That's a fact, Jack.
But how about, have you ever had a situation where that hold harmless or your release of liability came into play and it protected you? No?
No. Man, that release of liability isn't worth the paper that it's printed on, man. And my insurance guy said the same thing. I've got the best in the business, man. When you come to Destiny Water Adventures, you got about a mortgage-like contract that you sign. Not only do I have a basic release of liability, I also have a personal responsibility contract that I make my people sign. So it takes everything that is legalese and distills it down to 2 paragraphs. And it's like, look, man, there's sharp pieces on a boat. There's a propeller on a boat. There's this. If you're in 12 inches of water, if you do anything, you're responsible. Man, and I can't get into specific stuff too much, but people have gone out there and have done stupid things, and they're 100% at fault. You know what I mean? They were drinking, they came back drunk, and they had a cut or hurt themselves, and I get a letter in the mail, and it's like, it's like stuff like that's the most difficult pill to swallow. But it doesn't matter. Again, it's like, if you're in business, that's what the insurance is for. That's what the attorney for. Don't get emotional. Hey, you want to send me a piece of paper? Fantastic. I'm going to send it over to my insurance company, and I'm going to eat my breakfast and keep on trucking along, man. So, yeah, unfortunately, the release is not. We've used it where people have been like, we're like, you signed this, you knew. Like, you signed this too. That's your name, right? This is a copy of your ID, right? So, so we've had shit happen where it came back on the dock, and I could start to smell that. Like, what are you going to do for me? And then when that happens, you got to man up on shit like that. You know what I mean? If you start bending to somebody, if they start making demands and you start bending to them, these people that do this shit, they are terrorists, man. You know what I mean? Yeah. And if they smell for a second that you're going to cave, that won't stop. That is blackmail to me. You know what I mean? So when they start going like, well, what are you going to do for me? We wall up. Everyone gets stone faced. Nobody says anything. So somebody talks about being injured or something like that. And what are you going to do? Nothing. Have your attorney bring it out, man. Like, we're nothing. I'm not giving you anything. The moment you start asking for something and saying that you're hurt, we report it to our insurance company. If they had to get medical attention or something like that, then, we call our insurance company and we fucking zip it up.
Right on. I was reading that those hold harmlesses, they are kind of shitty, but there was a couple of attorneys stating that if you put in there, you are releasing your right to sue, and my company is Slippery When Wet Rentals, by the way. So you're releasing your right to sue Slippery When Wet Rentals and all the management, whoever's involved in the LLC, regardless of negligence. If it was their fault or your fault, you're releasing your right to sue the company. And from what I understand, that's a good sentence that really holds more protection for you.
Yeah, so I'm not being an attorney and not speaking to like this is not legal advice.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm the first one to be like, "Oh, sue me." Yeah, so speaking to that, it depends on how your state governs this sort of stuff. So in the state of Florida, we just gotcha. Like it seems as though we just bend over, right? They're just like, "Yep, stick it in. Don't worry about the lube. We're good." So the wow. problem with this is that if an attorney goes like, yeah, you know, despite that piece of paper, we're going to go to court, right? We're going to sue you. So the insurance companies know that it's just a math game. So what's going to make this person going to go away? Are we going to get into a battle and pay all these legal fees and have to give them $800,000? Or is $900,000 going to make it go away? And everybody, we're going to save $200,000, $300,000. So that's why they have all these adjusters and all these insurance people and all this accounting that are all sitting there just doing math. And the math comes out every time in the state of Florida. Write them a check. They'll go away and it'll cost us less money. We're going to raise the rates on the people that are doing the job. And it's frankly, it's a huge problem in the state of Florida, from parasailing to, I mean, so it's just like bungee jumping. Like, tell me where you can go bungee jumping commercially in this country. You can't, because no one will write it. Right.
Yeah.
And so that's when jet skis, this is where jet skis and parasailing become difficult to write because they're so highly litigious. And a majority, if I had to guess, of claims in the country, I would very much say that the majority of them come from Florida. Like we're the biggest in the entire country. I mean, we probably gobble up. I know parasail wise, I remember hearing a number like there was 160 to 170 parasail companies in the state of Florida and 220 in the entire country. So, I mean, like basically if Florida collapsed, the whole industry would collapse, you know, like no one would write it. And, you know, I've heard that about jet skis for a long time, you know, commercial jet ski insurance is going to go away. And, you know, they've been saying the same thing about parasailing for 20 years, but I mean, on the parasail side, I've heard crazy quotes, man, you know, where they're talking 20 to 30% of gross revenue. And when you start getting into those numbers, man, like it does, man. It's sort of just like, man, I'm good, dude. If at the end of the day, my bottom line is 20%, I'll just go read the Wall Street Journal, man. You know what I mean? Like I'll figure, you know what I mean? Like, you know, like if you're getting 30% for writing my insurance, if you're getting 20% for, you know, for my rent as a landlord, like I'm good, you know. That, man, I could put 5% of money market right now. I can get 10% over the longevity of an ETF on S&P 500, man. And it's just like juice squeeze, you know, at some point. And it's like, you know, it's the operators. Don't get me wrong, like. It again, the onus of responsibility falls on our shoulders. If there's a ton of claims coming out of somewhere, man, well, it's like, well, what are you doing to run a better operation? Look, I get that. Like, it's like you can only do so much, right? Somebody's bringing in a ski, or you know, they're coming in and like you're like, no, and they slam into a dock or whatever, you know, and you feel like you've done everything you can to sort of mitigate that, and people are just going to people it up sometimes, you know what I mean? They're going to do what they do, man, and fuck shit up. And it's like, there's nothing you can do. Like that portion I get. But sometimes you see something happening like repeatedly, like over and over and over and over again. And it's like, well, you know, where is this stuff happening? Where is it coming out of?
Right.
Are you too big? You know what I mean? Do you have too much equipment? Like, is this unmanageable? You know, and it becomes like, it's not a greed thing. It's just a matter of scalability and understanding that like our industry it's very hard to scale this business, and it's hard to do it properly where you're trying to, again, you're delegating these high insurance costs, high rent costs, and then like all you can do is try and control what you can control. So where is that going to be cut? Where are you going to do cuts then, right? Marketing, okay, labor, right? So it's like, man, do you have enough people on staff? Did we spend enough time training? Did somebody get thrown into the wrong position? Do you have your 22-year-old nephew who doesn't know his asshole from a hole in the ground that you're giving, you're paying him $17 an hour or whatever? Or do you have like a real professional out there that you got to pay 60 grand to, insurance? You know what I mean? So it becomes very difficult. When you're in the trades, everybody's making a good wage, man. This is something some of these guys are going to do for the rest of their life. In our industry, a lot of our labor is it's employees, it's part-timers, it's seasonal help. And you don't necessarily have somebody that's got enough skin in the game to truly be washing your operation, especially when you're getting to big scalable sizes. When you're talking about having 30 boats and 16 jet skis and things of this nature. I've seen guys come into the industry with just money. You know what I mean? Like a bunch of knuckleheads and a lot of money. And it's like, oh, man, we're just going to start off with 30 boats. Cool, man. What'd you do before this? Oh, I was like a real estate developer. Huh.
Okay.
Interesting. Yeah. Tell me more.
Good choice.
Yeah, it seems like a great way to make millions of dollars. I know, man. It's also a great way to lose millions of dollars too, my man.
I'm going to say, yeah, there's a lot more into it than just, buying your equipment. And, knowing the legal stuff. But like you said, looking at trends, looking at, injuries and trying to mitigate them, and okay, yeah, we can't get rid of everything. Like you said, people are going to, human it up or, screw it up. But
shard on our boats.
Yeah. How do we stop guys from shitting on our boats? But not just sit back in your chair and go, hey, I'm just going to collect the money because I know these rich assholes from New York are going to come and rent our shit. But to actually, constantly be thinking, how can I get the business better and how can I make it even more safe?
Yeah, man. I've turned down money. I got a review, man. Somebody like nailed me in I guess it was my second year. And it was a bunch of solar guys, man. It was some young kid who owned a solar company, man, door knockers, and they get out of the car, man, and the kid signing he gets 2 boats and 3 jet skis when I was still doing combos. I stopped doing combos. Again, we'll give you rent a boat and a jet ski. Like, no, man, that's where all my accidents are happening. So I just stopped doing it. But at the time, we were still doing it. And they get out of the car, man, a bunch of young kids. They got beers in their hands. They're already drinking. One kid's got like an entire box full of liquor. And I was like, nope. I was like, dude, I can't do it, man. I'm like, I'll give you the boats, but I can't give you the skis, dude. I'm like, and you got to have somebody else that come drive the boat. That's not the 3 of you that are signing for it. And the kid got real upset, and they're like, oh, we'll go somewhere else. And they left, and him and 2 of their friends left a review, gave us a negative review and said I was racist. And I'm like, man, that's crazy. Like, what do you think? My manager, who's African American, or my other manager, who's a female? Like, I have the most ethnically diverse crew in water sports. Like, you go to my Facebook page and look at my header of me and my staff, and be like, yeah, you're racist. I'm like, you got the wrong guy, dude. I got more ethnicity and diversity on my staff than anybody in water sports, man. Because, like, you know what I mean? I come from Detroit. That's like, you know what I mean? I'm from a very diverse background. And so I was like, yeah, well, I guess, man, but it sucked. I had to take the 1-star review. I had to turn away, almost a $3,000 ticket. And at that time, man, you know what I mean? That was probably like half my day or something like that. You know what I mean? Yeah. I didn't have 10 boats and a bunch of jet skis or whatever. I just had a handful of boats. So to lose that money sucked. Right. But at the same point in time, man, I could not good conscious, like, give this guy a boat, knowing what they were going to go do. Now, unfortunately, I'm a little bit, we're larger. We have more people on staff. But, like, at that time, I didn't have somebody on the water. I couldn't go run out there and go get them if they were drinking. You know what I mean? So while we still have to deal with solve for that every day, I mean, we've solved for it as a large organization. So what do they say? More money, more problems, right? You have to continue to solve those problems. You can't just go like, oh man, you know, like hopefully that guy doesn't kill himself or one of his friends.
You know, as young as I am, you know, I started this year in June here in Nebraska. Man. I appreciate it. It's going good. It's paid for itself so far. I hadn't made one payment, you know.
That's great.
Out of my own pocket. But we're about a 5-month season, and I had to turn somebody down because they wanted to ride the river by themselves. And I'm like, and it was a good probably $600-700 I was going to make off the rental, and I couldn't do it because if he was a tip, if the river's getting high, if he catches a current, the jet ski's going to go down. I've got nobody in the water, like you're saying, to go catch them and help them out. Yeah, and they're going to try to swim for it. It was hard, but I see what you're saying on that side of it. It's again, to your point, ultimately the safety of our people come down to us and what decisions we make.
Yeah, man, it's a lot, especially in this business, man, especially on the water, because man, when shit goes sideways, man, it goes sideways in some of the worst. Yeah, man, worst possible ways. Some stuff's happened down in Key West and in the Florida Keys with parasailing in the last couple of years. In the last 3 years, there's been 2 horrific accidents where there was fatalities in that industry and down there, man. I mean, those guys really know what they're doing. You know what I mean? They've been and they managed to escape a fatality for like 30 some years. No one ever died down there parasailing. And then, you know, it was like back to back. There was 2 bad accidents, you know, just with bad weather, man. And like, man, I got caught one time. I got caught with, God, man, it was probably like 30, 35 mile an hour headwinds. And I had a 39 sail, which is like a 0 wind sail. So if you think of kites, you know what I mean? Like the bigger the kite, the bigger the drag. And I was a rookie, man. I was only out there 6 months. And man, I got drug about 2 miles offshore backwards. I mean, the whole stern of the boat was going under. My mate was standing on the back deck in like calf deep water, and the winch kept on seizing and it kept on dragging the boat. Man, those lines are rated for 11,000 pounds of tensile strength, and it kept on keeling the boat over. It would stop. It would seize up, and the whole boat would just turn to port, turn to starboard, and then it start dragging me. And I was just kind of like, your audience can't see, but my boat was keeling over, meaning that basically, like, instead of like driving a boat like going forwards or backwards, it was dragging sideways. You know what I mean? And like I was looking down in the helm on the starboard side, and I mean I was a foot away from the ocean when I was looking down. Like all the customers were basically on the other side of the boat, like trying, you know, and the boat was just turned over sideways going, and the line never snapped. The cold front managed that. The headwinds kind of came down. My winch re-engaged, and it took us about 4 pulls before we were able to get the sail down. My hands, man, the chute kept on re-inflating in my hands. And so like when you inflate the sails, basically like it's like taking a kite and throwing it up in the air. Well, you also have these lines that you have to kind of control to kind of like finesse it up when there's no wind. Now, if you're in high winds and you just take the sail, it just explodes into the sky. Smaller the sail, higher the wind. We had the biggest sail because there was 0 wind. There was no wind, and it went to like 30, like the wind storms, the seas started kicking up. Like it got hairy real fast. So my hands were bleeding trying to pull the sail down because you have to deflate it, meaning you have to take the pressure out of it, grab the lines that are all connected to the parachute and pull it down. And then all of the pressure and the wind drops out of the sail and it collapsed to the ground. Well, the thing kept on firing back up. I had to cut the damn thing off the back of the boat and popped away like Tom Hanks in Castaway when his sail like breaks away from the boat and it flies out into the wind. And that's what it was $4,000 sail. We go and chase that thing down, fish it back out of the water. Man, I wasn't sure if I was ever going to drive a parasail boat again, but man, I had about 15 shots at the bar at happy hour, man, and I woke up.
It's all better.
I was like, man, let's go. Either that or I got to go back to Detroit, man. And you know what? That was way fucking worse, dude.
So, well, Kevin, man, I can't thank you enough for being on this podcast. Like I said, we've been back and forth trying to get you on. Yeah. And really enjoyed it.
Yeah, man.
Dave, if you don't mind, I'd like to do the sign off just because of the industry that he does. Okay, so two things. First of all, who's your dentist? You've got like, I don't know if it's the lighting, but you've got like the whitest damn teeth.
Yeah,
But
yeah. Hashtag Zoom, man. I got Zoom whitening done. Like I got it done. It's also my complexion, bro. I'm really dark, man. You know what I mean? I'm very tan, so the teeth just kind of pop. But yeah, man, go get Zoom whitening done. It's like one of the most painful things I've ever done, but it was worth it. But thank you, man. I appreciate it. Yeah.
So and then second, what we usually do is give our guests, and Dave usually signs off something that. So what I like to ask you as a new customer that may have never driven a boat, never driven a jet ski, never done a parasail, something like that. What advice would you give to customers that may be listening to this, knowing that, hey, we're fixing to go to vacation to Florida, say in 2 months, and jet skis, boat rentals, something like that is part of our itinerary. What type of advice will you give them? What to look for with a company, how to know that you've got a reputable company if they're not in your area, and so on and so forth.
Yep.
Just for them to be safe.
You know, man. Yeah, that's a great question. You know, firstly, always do your due diligence. Read reviews. Every company you go with has reviews, and then I always say look at the marketing. You know, like it's a big portion of it. Like everybody that starts off in any kind of business, especially this, they want to buy like a cool boat. You know what I mean? But then they always skimp on the marketing. You know what I mean? Like, but that's a big part of it, man. If they got a great looking website, that's somebody that pays attention to every last detail, man. You know, and if they have great reviews and if they respond to those reviews, that's a big. And the reason I say that is because to me, that's an owner that cares. They care about their reputation. They care about what they look like. They care about, and that goes all the way down. If somebody cares about their reputation, and they have ton of great reviews and everyone's singing their praises, man, that means they're going to care about everything else down the line, man. And they're going to care about everything up the line too, and including
every little detail. Yeah.
And then what can they expect from you as an owner when they walk in? Like IDs, understand how to sign the waiver, jet skis, some type of safety presentation before they get on, things like that. What can they expect from the owner?
So yeah, man. From the top down, insofar as I think safety goes, is what does and again, man, this is just like situational awareness, man. Is everything happening quickly? Is the staff attentive to your needs? Are they running down the checklist of everything? You're going to sign this. You're going to sign this. You're going to sign this. You're going to do this. We're going to need your ID. You're going to go see Chance down on the docks. He's going to bring you down to boat 1. Chance is going to put him on the boat, and he's going to have an awesome presentation. He's going to go over all the T's and Q's. Does anybody have any questions? Is anybody concerned? There's kids wearing their life jackets. The entire experience from beginning to end, meet your expectations or go above and beyond. I can only speak for my company, but I can tell you what, man, when we're going and I have a 3 months to make our money, sometimes those boats get tore up, man. They're still safe, but the front, it'll take damage. You know what I mean? The seat might take a tear or something like that. And it's like, I got to send that boat out tomorrow because it's like one of two problems, right? So either I send out a boat that is not as aesthetically pleasing as I would like it to be, or I have to ruin someone's day. I have to cancel their trip. 99 out of 100 times, people would much rather go out with a boat that's got a dent in it or rip it. So I'm not perfect, man. You know what I mean? Like we keep backup boats and we keep all the stuff on, all the parts. We have a full shop and all the things you can imagine. But the one thing that people say universally about what they get when they come to Destiny Water Adventures is 2 things. One, the experience of checking in and getting on the boat and leaving was perfect. And 2, customer service was impeccable. For that reason, we have almost 2,000 reviews in our market at a 4.9 rating. I have the most reviews, and we are the highest reviewed. That's because my staff is trained, retrained, trained again. We have video modules. We have SOPs. I've had my staff write SOPs. So when I'm looking at a review, I want to make sure that from the experience from beginning to end, from the time they leave to the time they get back. Well, now we've had a couple bad reviews where like this place isn't safe because they got caught in like a mild rainstorm or something like that, and to them it was they're sailing the seven seas, and to us it was like, no, this is a little cloudy out. We would never send you out. And I've gotten bad reviews because I pulled people out of crappy situations, and they were like, oh, they came out and stopped our good time. We're like, well, dude, it was like blowing 35 and lightning, man. I mean, I appreciate your balls, but we cut the tip, man. I'm sorry, so you can't win sometimes. But
crackling's coming out.
The reviews are everything, man. Like, I mean, you're gonna see it. You know what I mean? Like, even our review responses. Like I went over a few the other day because it goes down the line, man. I use offshore VAs. I use people in the Philippines to do some of the mundane stuff. And I told them, I said, hey, look, the review responses are not meeting my expectations because we want to make sure that we're reading everything that they're saying. And we're not just saying, hey, thanks for the great review. Come back and see us again. I don't like that. No, I want you to read that review because if there's something in there that I need to know about, it's in that review. So the reviews and the review responses, which I always consider a part of marketing, which is why I put those two things together, the reviews and the marketing. It's extremely important because if they're paying attention to that, you can damn sure bet your ass that they're paying attention to everything that's happening underneath those layers of onions, man.
Yeah, peel them back one by one. Well, there you go, listeners. If you're traveling down to the east coast of Florida in the Panhandle there, catch up with Kevin. He's going to take very good care of you.
Yeah,
and man, loved having you on. It was super enjoyable.
I got one plug, man. So October 9th through the 13th, we'll be at Arrival. If anybody wants to come and learn more about tourism or even safety and best practices, like marketing's a big thing. If you're talking to business owners right now, there's from technology, it's all in the travel space. But October 9th, that Monday, we will be actually having, it's called The Port. And you can go to watersportpodcast.com or just Google search Awkward Watersport Guys. You can even shoot me an email if that's something that interests you, which is Kevin at Destiny Water Adventures. And so we'll be down there and I'll be doing a presentation on the future of water sports, and I'll be doing another presentation on sales. That's not going to have some,
and you're going to have some really cool keynote speakers too, right?
Yeah, man, it's going to be awesome. We actually have the Keith Goss from the CEO and founder of Tideland Financial. We'll be doing a presentation on best practices for tax strategies, wealth generation. We have the CEO of Red Hospitality, which is a publicly traded company. They're one of the only private equity water sports firms. There's another one, Trish from Chenmark will be at that event as well. So we'll have big, sort of like big business, where big business meets small business. We'll have Dustin from PPC Pro, Steve from AMP Agency for all marketing stuff. Like, we're going to have a dynamite lineup for that. It's a one-day event only, and the networking and the education, it's like, man, bring your pens and papers because we put together the content, and it's everything that I would want to know how to scale from your first dollar to 7-8 figures and beyond.
Nice.
Yeah.
Kevin, once again, man, thank you. And listeners, again, October 9th, if you're thinking about getting in this business, this is the perfect expo to go to.
Absolutely.
He's going to have all those fantastic keynote speakers. He's going to get up with his pearly whites and give you some speeches as well. And with his colorful personality, it's going to be an awesome ass time. So once again,
yes, thank you,
signing
Kevin.
off. Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Y'all have a great rest of your day, Kevin. Enjoy your weekend.
You too, guys.
Hey, be safe.
Alrighty. Be
That was
safe.
great, man. Thanks for having me, boys. I really appreciate it, man. Awesome, awesome experience. Great show, man. I love what you guys are doing in the vertical, man. That's that safety podcast. So many people don't understand when they're doing these podcasts that like having that very niche, very specific thing is so important, man. So you guys are getting it done right. Thanks again for having me, boys.
Absolutely.
Right.
We'd love to have you back.
Yes, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
yes, sir.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.